The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Hello and welcome back to the show. In this short Empathy Expansion Kit episode, we're talking about scaling personal touch in a growing business. I'm Steven Sakach here with Tullio Siragusa. Hey, Tullio.
Good to be back. One more week to have some fun with this.
Yes, sir. All right. One of the challenges of scaling is losing your culture in the process. Sometimes you get stretched too thin. Sometimes things are just going fast. You don't have time to be thoughtful. But maybe you've thrived when things were small and you had this ability to connect with customers on a deeper level. Now you're adding more store locations. Maybe your e-commerce store is cranking out orders at high speed and those interactions aren't what they used to be. So this is where we talk about our Bliss concept, build love into scalable systems. That we specifically mentioned scalable is very important to this, because otherwise, if you just build it into a system and then when you start to scale, that system fails and crashes, then that love you built there is fleeting, and we want something that works as your business grows. So Tullio, let's talk about some of the challenges of maintaining personal touch at scale.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Scaling is very challenging. It requires a lot of planning and a lot of good leadership too. Experience plays a big role. But for example, increasing a customer base. Larger customer base can make it difficult to maintain one-on-one interaction and personalized service. So you grow your business, you grow revenue, but you might lose touch with some customers. And if that was the key thing that generated the business, then you could, essentially lose touch with what actually helped you gain momentum. So that's challenging. So diluted interaction is part of this. With more customer, it becomes harder to provide them same depth of interactions and that they've come to expect. So scaling that is challenging. There's also a loss of intimacy that happens, that comes with that. The close personal relationship that were possible with a smaller customer base can become strained, and that, as the business scales, that can lead to interactions that feel less personal and more transactional. It's like, I just need to get back to you, finish this transaction, move on to the next one. And I've actually seen that. I've seen executives pull back when they lost relationship, for example, with the founders or the executives of a company. Because as you scale, also who you interact with changes too. So that impacts the relationship as well. And then response time, that's probably the biggest challenge. Scaling up often leads to delays in response time, and that could be frustrating for customers and make them feel undervalued, which is the danger zone in terms of maintaining the relationship. There's also operational complexity that comes with scaling. Like, for example, sometimes in order to scale it more efficiently, you try to put more processes in place, but those processes could lead to more rigidity, which compromises your need to be flexible and the ability to deliver personalized services. So it's like more process so you could scale, but that also means less flexibility that you can service your clients better. So balancing that is tough. And consistency across teams, that's probably the most challenging. With scaling comes more hiring, speed and veracity of hiring, the ability to get everyone up to speed on how we do things. That's challenging. Ensuring that all the employees, regardless of location and department, maintain the same level of empathy and personal touch can be very difficult. Those are some of the key challenges that businesses face when they're scaling the business.
So let's talk some strategies here to overcome this. So things that you need to do really is you have to empower employees so that they can make decisions. Maybe you were handling these decisions. Now you got a bunch of employees. Now you've got to be able to give them the power to make those decisions, and they don't have to run something up the ladder constantly, which can be frustrating. In order to do that, you got to provide some clear boundaries for them. So here's an example that always comes to mind. Ritz-Carlton, for example, they give their employees like a set budget. I think it's $2,000, and they can solve a customer problem, whatever it is, on the spot with this amount of budget. So allows them to still maintain that exceptional service without needing, like I said, to go run it up the ladder to a manager or something. It's like, okay, I'm going to be able to solve this problem. I can do it this way, or this way. Gives them a lot of freedom. And, you've got that boundary of that budget there. So another example here is Chewy. And this is an interesting one because, it's like a e-commerce sort of scenario. Maybe you've got someone typing in an order, or maybe you've got them calling in, placing an order with Chewy and talking about something. And what they've done is they've allowed their employees to have some autonomy to go above and beyond. So, if they hear about someone who's lost a pet, and they're canceling their service, Chewy, they're now allowed to, send them a handwritten note or send them flowers. And this really, it goes kind of above and beyond, and it helps build that sort of very personal human-to-human connection. And it's something that, just giving them a little instruction, hey, you can do this to connect with this person in this very difficult time. That's a huge way to provide some sort of freedom and also a little bit of boundary that they can work within to build that same personal human connection at scale. So Tullio, what else can we do to help with that personal touch at scale?
Well, you said something interesting, and it's very key. And I think that explains that there's really two levels of scaling. There's the moving from a lifestyle business to actually growing one that you could scale, right? That's sort of like where the founder was running the business, and it was a nice lifestyle business, but now has stumbled on this need for more demand, and that requires scaling. And sometimes, in many cases, the challenge there is, as you had mentioned, is just the lack of empowerment and delegation. So the founders become the bottleneck. So they become the biggest hindering force to scaling. And then there's the scaling once you've passed that stage, which is like, building systems that can scale. But so some key things that can help, even in the first stage of that. So investing in employee training is always going to pay off, right? Continuous training ensures that employees understand the brand's values and are equipped to deliver empathetic, personalized services at scale. So it's not just training them on the product, the service, or how the company does things, but it's also training them to be emotionally intelligent in how they handle challenges. So that's a whole different level of training, because you ultimately want them to be equally invested like the founders are, or at least closely invested, emotionally invested into the business, and that requires a different level of training. There's also could be some focus areas like emphasizing empathy, active listening, problem solving, and flexibility. These are actually great skills to develop, period. So in many cases, you can do it under the guise of, hey, these are skills you can take while you're here. You can take them when you leave here if you want to leave here. So there's most employees are invested in learning these things because it's going to serve their careers. And then, of course, I think one of the biggest opportunities is to strive for more leaders, right? So ensure that leaders and managers model empathetic behavior and reinforce its importance in daily operations, but also letting the employees understand that really we're all leaders in the business. So stepping into that role as leaders is key. And that's how you're going to get buy-in for essentially creating a culture of empathy across the organization. So moving away from just the bosses getting transactions done to one where you're empowering individuals to be leaders in the organization, and also helping understand the difference between a leader and a manager. A leader doesn't mean you manage people. You just lead in terms of being someone that sets the example. For example, a company that does this well is Southwest Airlines. They provide ongoing training to its employees. They focus on customer service, empathy, problem solving. The training ensures that even as the airline grows, the personal, friendly service that's known for that they're known for remains consistent. So that's something that's a commitment from their part to maintain that friendly, smaller, more intimate airline feeling, even though they've continued to grow and expand. And also the other thing that can help a lot today is leveraging technology, but leveraging technology thoughtfully. So, for example, technology can be used to enhance personal interactions. Tools like CRM systems can help track customer preferences and histories and little details, allowing them more personalized engagement. We talked about AI as well. AI can be integrated into this to even further personalize things and give insights to the employees. So it's not like the individual has to come up with all this stuff themselves. The technology can help an individual be more empathetic, be more responsive. And finding balance is also important, and you can use technology with that so that you can ensure that there's balance between automation and AI-driven tools that support personalization. It's not just about getting good at something transactionally, but continuing to maintain personalization. And don't replace the key human-to-human points with this, right? This is unfortunately been used incorrectly by a lot of places where you call a number for customer service and they put you in the menu jail, where sometimes there's a situation where you need to speak with someone and you're forced to go through a million different selections before you speak to someone.
Can you imagine, Tullio, like with Chewy, you just lost your pet and now you just want to unsubscribe. And what if you got just stuck in one of these little very difficult unsubscribed services and you're dealing with machines and all that? How extremely frustrating
forever with that.
Versus what Chewy did is like they bliss the moment. They built love into a system. They gave, and it's a scalable system. So they did this at this very key moment of when someone might be needing to cancel their service, and it's, they're just in a very emotional state of mind, and they're like, hey, very sorry. And it's just this very human to human connection thing. The opposite of that would just be total, you're missing that opportunity there. And you're able to figure out how you can do these things on scale and in a system that changes your business. So keep that in mind. Look for those opportunities. That's it for today's Empathy Expansion Kit episode. As a reminder, Tuesdays we do a deeper dive podcast. Wednesdays are these short segments. We're doing the Empathy Expansion Kit right now. And tomorrow we run our live interviews with guests. So check that out tomorrow. Send us your questions and we will see you next time on the Bliss Business Podcast.